Hello and welcome to my tropical garden rebuild here in the UK. It's March the 1st today and it is a beautiful frosty morning. It's been minus 1.5 Celsius, but the sun's out now and it's warming up and I've got jobs to do. So let's go have a look what we need to get on with and let's get on with it. For those of you that have been watching the transformation of my garden will be quite aware that I'm building this path through to the back. I've cleared the area, I've started to get the first bit of stone in and I've run out. But let's talk about the plans for this section. I am going to carry on the cobbles like I have here, and then you can see I've got these bridges that are going to go over my streams. Well, this is now going to be cobbles around here with a step or two steps made from the cobbles. So it's a real gradual sort of step up. And then at the point where you can see this weed membrane fabric, where the spirit level is, I am now going to build a curved bridge going around here. The same as my other ones, but longer. And that is then going to be come in, because we've stepped up, that's going to come in at the height. You can see this is stepped up going into my cabin door, where it's now going to come in at this higher level, so I don't have to dig all this out and it will match the ground level on this side, and that's going to come around. And the reason I'm putting a bridge here is because my actual stream is going to come in from that bridge there, work its way round. And what I'm going to do here is build another bridge in here, and it's going to be like a dry riverbed at the moment, unless I change things and decide to put water in it. But I think the idea is I'm going to build so it looks like that the water used to run down here. It will have a bit of gravel in the bottom with rocks and banks up either side, and it will look like it used to go and the water used to fall into the stream below, but it's just dried up. And I'm going to create like it almost, because it's nice and shady, a boggy area where I can put some of my big leafed regersias, hostas and like plants like that would almost be marginals to the side of a stream or a lake. I feel like it's going to add real interest. And rather than me stand here looking at a bit of fabric and some stone, I'm going to nip off, go and get some timber to make the bridge, get that built, and see where we go from there. Okay, so I've collected the timber for the next bridge and carried it round. This is in the UK what we would call railway sleepers, treated railway sleepers for outdoor garden use. They're not railway sleepers, but their dimensions are very similar to the old ones that used to be used on the tracks of railways, hence why they get their name. But basically they're 8-foot timbers, which is about 8 by 4 wide. They are treated, like I say. I need to cut them down to the same width as my path, which is about 900 mil. That's about 3 foot if you're American. You can see these two have been cut to the right size. What I would say is, when you cut them, you're going to see the ends are clean and the treatment doesn't go all the way through. So you can buy special paint or wood preservers to paint them ends, just so you don't, it'll make the timber last a lot longer. Generally, outdoor timber, even if it's in the ground, will probably last, if it's treated, maybe 10 years to 15 years. What I'm going to do, and what we tend to do with these, is anything that touches soil or anywhere where the damp can progress in, we can use a bitumen paint to paint the bits that you don't see, but also that helps like a protective layer to stop the water soaking into them. But also, because the tops and the sides aren't painted in the bitumen, that still allows the timber to breathe and move and shrink and contract and do all that sort of stuff that timber does when it's outside and subject to weather conditions. Okay, that's enough of the boring stuff. Let's go over to where the bridge is going in. Right, so I've skipped ahead a little bit and temporarily set the new path out to give me an idea how it's going to feel. So as I walk around here, I will go over this bridge, walk around these cobbles, and now I will have my decision to make where I go around that way or around that way. And at first, in one of my previous videos, I said I was going to tee it off quite sharp, but someone gave me a comment and said basically I think that would annoy you in the future, not flowing as well. And I felt, actually, yeah, he's definitely right, it would annoy me. So I feel this now is going to flow round really gradually, a little bit of tweaking on the curve, but I've just had to eyeball that roughly in to see how I want that to look, which I'm quite happy. It sort of looks like it flows around. Every time I laid a few cobbles, I stepped back and adjusted it a little bit, but I think that once that's cut in and all laid, it's going to look quite natural. Then I'm going to do probably a couple of little steps in the cobbles rather than step up onto the new bridge. So this is going to be the new bridge. It's only temporary like this, so I can work out all my spacings. I have adjusted and played around with this compass point, which is on a metal bar and a piece of wood, and I can now move that backwards and forwards to get my radius all the way around. And basically what I've done is I've set it roughly like this. So this timber is roughly going to be in the center of each one to make sure that they're square with this bit of timber, and I've got a little bit of tweaking, but roughly that's the idea, to make sure that they all go. I've got a rough line here and a rough line at the back to show where they go. So what that's now done is allowed me to see the gaps I'm going to get. For now, I've touched these together. They will have a slight gap between them because that allows for any sort of shrinking and expansion. But now I've got to measure roughly these gaps, and that will allow me to work out how much I've got to cut off each one of these. So for instance, if that gap is 50 mil there from one corner to another, then I would have to cut off on this end 25 mil and 25 mil, and then draw a line and cut that down with my saw. Right, it'll be easier if I show you. Okay, so we've skipped forward a little bit, and I've now cut all the middle ones into the wedge shapes. There's 10 pieces of timber in here. You don't have to cut the far two outside ones, they're fine, but you do have to cut, for me, the 8 in the middle. And you can now see I've used my circular saw and I've ripped these down now into wedge shapes. So this end is thinner than that end, and that allows the gaps to be a lot closer. They're not perfect, but I've still got to sand them and use my electric plane to clean them up. And to be fair, I don't want them to look perfect. This is meant to look a bit rustic, curved type bridge. If I was doing it out of maybe decking boards or something and it was a very contemporary garden, then I would have to make sure that they looked a lot neater and everything was spot on. But I want that kind of little rustic look. I was even going to sort of maybe just chip the edges a little bit just to make them look like they're old and worn. Not too much, but that's basically the top timbers all sort of cut roughly to size. I've got to now clean them up, sand them, and then prepare the bottom timbers. So rather than keep talking about it, might as well get on with it. Well, it's Saturday evening now and it's starting to get dark, so I'm going to call it a day. The light's going quite quickly. I've packed most of the tools away. I've moved the bridge onto the patio because I wanted a level surface to help me set it up. It was much easier doing it that way. I've gave it a sand. My next job is hopefully tomorrow, which I'm busy on Sunday morning, but then afterwards I'm going to come out and start painting it, paint all the sides, paint underneath, and then I can hopefully start to put it together again. I'm going to do all the fixings for underneath. I should be able to show that if I get a chance, so I don't see any screws or bolts in this top surface, but it's got that rustic curve that I was hoping for. Gonna leave it at that for the minute, and I'll see you in a minute. Fast forwarded to Sunday dinner time, and it is a beautiful sunny March morning. I've had a lovely breakfast with my wife today, and now I'm all ready to get going. So gonna get these painted. I'll move them over to the lawn, paint them individually, let them dry in the sun, and then hopefully I can start putting this together. Few hours later, and it's now all painted. It's upside down and it's been screwed together. I didn't bother filming the whole process because it was sort of quite awkward and that to do, but basically it's all been bolted down using these timber lock fixtures. You can either get the flat-headed ones or you can get these like hexy head ones. I did slightly make a mistake where I accidentally picked up the 125 millimeters, and I meant to pick up the 150 millimeters because it needs to go in about 150 mil. So I basically countersunk some holes so I could screw them in a little bit deeper. None of this is going to be seen, so it's not a problem. Right, just to clarify, obviously I've done an angle and a cross to help with the curve. If this was one big bridge, when it's turned over, going over a bigger span, then I wouldn't be able to put these joints in because that would be too much of a weak point. I would have had to try and figure out a way of doing it with two long straight beams. But if I had done it with two straight beams, then if you imagine that would have went across there, this would have had quite a lot of overhang and hardly any overhang on the other bits because it is a curve going onto straight lines. But when it's turned over, the dry stream underneath it is only going to be from about there to there. So this part all the way to there is going to be supported onto a bed of like concrete and bedded down. So there will be no weakness there because technically from there to there is the only part that is going to be bridging the dip below. I'm going to let this dry now. It's about 4 o'clock. So we've got about another hour or so before hour and a half maybe, before it starts getting dark. And I've got some more digging to do over there. What else have I got to say? I think that's about it. Oh no, one last thing. So when it's dry, probably tomorrow, this area, just this flat area here, to whatever's going to be bedded on the concrete, I will probably be painting that in just that bottom surface in a bitumen paint. This is like a oak paint that is really good at helping protect the already treated timber, but because this is going to be in touch with the ground below and you possibly get, you know, damp rising through, it's going to help just protect any sort of ingress of moisture through the bottom into these areas. The rest of it realistically shouldn't be touching any soil, so it will just be aerated around and should last a long time, all being well. Like I say, I'd probably get away without bitumen them. I have a bit of bitumen, so I may as well just paint that black horrible tarry stuff on. Right, I'll get on with a bit of digging. Right, so now I have a nice big pile of soil dumped, which I've had to double hand because I had nowhere to put it. I have got someone coming with a trailer tomorrow that needs some soil, and we're going to barrow it round and put it into their trailer, and they can take it to build up an area of their garden. So that's going to get rid of that. And to think all that has just come out of this little path gap area, and to think I was literally thought I was just going to cut a passageway through and put a little path in, but me being me, I had to make it into a lot bigger job than it was. So the bridge is going to go around here, cobbles around there. This is going to be my dry stream, and then going into the proper stream there, it will sort of stop there. I may look at putting a little jet or pump or something of water just coming in, so it looks like maybe it's just trickling through a few rocks, almost like it's just about dried up, because that will help also circulate the water towards that part of the pond. That's quite important, I would imagine, for long streams like this, to keep the water pushing along. Normally, if I was doing this job, a landscaping job for customers, I wouldn't be hand digging this. We'd have a digger excavator in, doing all the work. My access is really tight into my gate because I had the silly idea of putting plants and palms everywhere, and now I can only just get in my gate, never mind with a digger. But I am trying to do this job as much as I can as though it was doing it yourself. So little tips, tricks, anything like that, the DIYers think, you know what, I don't need a team of landscapers in or whatever. I could give that a go myself. I can get a spade out and do some digging. I'm not saying to do it on the scale that I've crazily gone for, but you know, some of these projects you might be able to give a go, or something similar, or try something. Right, that's about as much as I'm going to get done for the day by the time I've cleared up and everything. I'm not going to post this video until a bit more's done, so it will be much more apparent hopefully in a minute. Okay, we're now on Monday evening. I've had a family member come round and help me get the bridge into place because it was quite heavy, and I'm really happy with how it's going to look. We're going to have this cobble path coming up, like I've said, a couple of steps, and now this lovely curved bridge going round to my cabin at the back. The other side of the bridge, the curve will S round to the doors. I've started to mess around with a few of these rocks. We've got this big one in the right that is just going to be cut into the edge of the path to look like that when the path was being built, maybe it was just too big a rock to move, so we had to cut round it. And I've started to look at a couple of the rocks to start building the dry stream. If I do choose to put water in it, I will have to move some of these rocks to obviously get liner in and stuff like that. That's still a thought process that I'll play around with when it comes to digging the pond. I've started to get a bit of a trench dug round to the back, so you can sort of see, if I move round here, you can sort of see that this is the other bridge, and what you're looking at now, that level is pretty much only going to be water level, to be fair, so it goes under the bridges, and that's going to go round to the back to the rear pond round there. This is going to be the dry stream coming round there. Look like it possibly is going to fall into this stream. This has got to be wider, but I've got to move some plants yet. It's got to be a lot deeper, but it's getting there. Okay, so this video has been mainly about how I built that bridge. I know that's not for everyone. A lot of you are here to see tropical plants, palm trees and stuff like that, but it was a key part to my new design and what I'd changed and how I wanted the garden to feel, so I thought I'd show the process. The next video hopefully should be with this path finished, and I'm hoping to get some plants into these borders all along the right side here. I should start being able to get some nice rocks in and get the plants in all the way down there. On Friday at the end of the week, I have got 2 pallet loads of rocks coming, so I should be able to start rocking that border over there and getting some of those plants in. Really excited. That's the part that I love the most. I'm enjoying designing and creating this garden. but the plants are what finishes it off. So thank you very much for watching. I've really appreciated the comments up to now. It's been so supportive. Really enjoyed reading them. And thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.